5. Ciudad Perdida. In the heart of the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta Mountains in northern Colombia lies a place so remote that its indigenous people created their own language and culture. The area is so rugged that even today it's almost impossible to reach. So how then was an entire city lost here? The Tairona people had been living in relative peace until they started getting visitors from two different directions. The first were Spanish conquistadors who trekked up from Venezuela, and the second, and just as dangerous, were African slaves who escaped the brutal conditions of nearby plantations and formed their own communities in the hills. The Tairona fought back with fierce determination, but soon found themselves fighting a two-front war. They appealed to the Kogui, another indigenous group, for help. Together, they successfully repelled the attackers and created an alliance. But soon after, a new threat appeared. Disease brought over by the conquistadors from Europe, which ravaged the native populations who'd never even seen a Spaniard. Within a few decades, most of the Tairona and Kogi had died. There are conflicting reports on exactly what happened next. Some say the survivors fled into the jungle voluntarily, leaving their homes behind. Others say they were chased into the wilderness by the Spanish. Either way, the cities were abandoned. In the ensuing centuries, the jungle reclaimed everything. Even today, archaeologists can only find the remnants of temples, houses, and roads by using ground-penetrating radar. And when they do find them, they have to be careful. There are still booby traps left over from the Tairona's war with the Spaniards. One team found a stone-lined well filled with sharpened wooden stakes. Then there are the tales of ghosts. Villagers who live near the mountain tell stories of apparitions wandering the trails at night. Sometimes they appear as mummies, sometimes as whole groups of people, and when explorers try to follow them, they vanish into thin air. Are these ghosts Tairona warriors? Or are they something older, something from before the Tairona ever lived here? Number 4, Paititi. Paititi means Golden City, and if it exists, it may very well be the richest archaeological site in all of South America. This Inca city is said to contain vast treasures of gold, silver, and jewels, enough to make a king or queen or god very rich indeed. It was probably founded in the late 1400s and located somewhere in modern Bolivia. But where exactly is up for debate because the city was probably never actually on any maps. There are two competing legends about why the city was built. The first says that it was made as a refuge for King Pachacuti's mistress and her children, along with untold riches. The second legend says that the city was the home of a powerful sorcerer who used magic to conceal it from outsiders. Both stories may have some truth to them, but it's clear that Pachacuti's son, Huayna Capac, knew about this secret city because he tried to have it destroyed. Why? Well, he wasn't a fan of his dad's mistress. Also, his mom didn't like the city either. She worried that the sorcerer was secretly trying to usurp the throne. So she sent out her brother to destroy the city, but he couldn't find it. Some sources say the brother killed the sorcerer, but the city remained hidden. Others say he also failed and had to run away. Either way, Huayna Capac decided to look for the city himself, but he couldn't find it either. Only after he died did the supposed treasure become widely known. Legend has it that Huascar, who succeeded Huayna Capac, led a huge expedition to find the city and fill himself with its riches. But he too came up empty-handed. Since then, the search for Paititi has continued, though recent expeditions have turned up nothing but disappointment. And yet many believe the city is real, including local villagers who claim to know where it is, but won't tell anyone for fear of what might happen if looters get to it first. No. 3. Chan Chan. Chan Chan is one of the most extensive pre-Columbian sites in South America. Its walls alone stretch for 9 kilometers, and it contains whole districts dedicated to tradesmen, farmers, and artisans. But it's also one of the least explored, in part because it's hard to get to, and in part because it's hard to see through the mud. The entire city is built from adobe bricks, which have decayed into a thick sludge. No one knows how many people lived here in pre-Hispanic times, but it seems like everyone who did eventually died here. Whatever happened, it happened very fast. We don't even know if they were killed. One theory is that the entire population fell victim to a deadly plague. Another is that they were wiped out by a flash flood. And a third is that they were murdered by rival Chimu kings who sought to expand their empire. But in the end, the Chimu fell to the Inca, and the whole city was swallowed by the jungle. When the Spanish arrived in the 1500s, they didn't even know the place had been a city. They called it La Huaca del Toro, or the Bull Mound, because all they could see above the mud were two gigantic heads shaped like bulls. It took another 4 centuries for the whole site to be properly excavated. Now, archaeologists are struggling to preserve it. Climate change is causing even more rain in this part of Peru, leading to even more erosion. But as bad as all that is, Chan Chan is still considered lucky. Most of the other great Chimu cities were looted and destroyed in the 1800s. The desert sands have swallowed them whole, and the only way to explore them now is by digging deep underground. 2. Vilcabamba. If you want to learn about the Inca, you can visit Machu Picchu, the famous lost city high in the Andes Mountains. But there's another option. You can visit the last lost city, the one that the Inca fled to when the Spanish came. Vilcabamba was founded in the mid-1500s and served as the capital of the rebel Inca kingdom of Vilcabamba. This group broke off from the main Inca Empire after the Spanish conquered most of Peru and set up shop in the village of Pumacuru. At first, they followed the teachings of Manco Inca Yupanqui, who wanted his people to hide rather than fight the Spanish. But later, they changed their strategy and tried to reconquer their lands. Unfortunately, they were never successful. The Spanish had better weapons, but the rebels kept fighting for decades. Finally, in 1710, the Spanish governor captured the last Inca king and took him back to Lima, where he died. His head was cut off and displayed from the tower of the Cathedral of Lima for years afterwards. But the story of Vilcabamba doesn't end there. Unlike most other Inca cities, Vilcabamba wasn't completely destroyed by the Spanish. They were happy to let the jungle reclaim the buildings, since no Inca were left to use them. So in some ways, it really is a lost city. In fact, it was only rediscovered in 1948. It's not as impressive as Machu Picchu, but it's much less crowded. Number 1. Caral. Caral is older than the pyramids. In fact, it's older than any pyramids anywhere in the world. The oldest Norte Chico civilization, urban settlement, the earliest state system in the tropics, and the first large public works projects in the Americas all happened here between 2600 and 1800 BCE. But you won't find any written records from this era. The people of Caral never invented a writing system. For thousands of years, this was the largest city in South America. It was massive, it was highly sophisticated, and it lasted for thousands of years, yet we know virtually nothing about it. It's one of the greatest mysteries of ancient South America. And if you want to hear another great mystery, click on the video on screen now. And thanks for watching.